Hi, it's Nessie. Um, Today we are going to be doing a full mesh build, which means creating the mesh, rigging it, sizing it down to Bebe Toddler, and uploading it to SecondLife. Uh, and these will be a weekly thing. The mesh that we're going to be making today is just a simple one because this is a beginner series, so this is like the beginner of the beginner. And it will be, let me get it pulled over. So this is the mesh that we're going to make. It's just a simple t-shirt and jeans. I figured you do this little detail down here on the jeans as well. So I usually like to keep my inspiration pictures just off to the side. I have a different screen over here, so I just will keep that off to the side over here. Now, if you don't know how to look at patterns like sewing patterns or anything, then don't worry. Um, we will go over all of that. So when you're first creating a mesh object, so we're going to do the t-shirt first, you want to look at the seam lines. So this one has seam line here, and the arm thing kind of looks like a J on the sewing pattern, and then it goes straight down. So and then you have the neckline. And the way that we're going to make that is we want to come over here in this and select polygon. And then we're going to draw kind of on the avatar. And you want it to be, because you have to think it's not just 2D, so you don't want to make it right close to the avatar. You want to make it a little bit above because it has to wrap around and meet basically halfway. So we want to start drawing a little bit up. I usually go about 1 square up when I'm creating on ToddleeDoo, and that seems to work good. And you want to go to the edge of the shoulder, so right here, and it's going to snap vertical, which is really nice. And then you just click, and then you want to bring it down. We're going to go, I usually go a little bit further down here, about here, and then down here. And then you want to bring it to the center line. It's going to snap to that center line. And then you come up, and this is about where I want the neckline to be. And this is totally up to you guys uh, when creating, and you can go back and change these as well. So we're going to go like that, and then close it. And it's going to create our fabric piece. See? And it is kind of far away, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. And um, in the setting up the first mini series, we go over how to set up the gizmo. This is the gizmo. And I have mine set on world. So then we're just going to bring it. I usually have it come a little bit away. You never want to have it intersect the body, so you never want to have it be like that. Or I usually run into that around the back. But you want to just have it come just a little bit out. And now it's time to create the curves. So this has no curves in it at all, and so we need to make it look a little bit more like a shirt. So we're going to add a curve and drag that. So this a typical t-shirt, excuse me, a typical t-shirt has basically like a circle one, so it kind of comes down like that. And then this is going to be like a J. But you never, one thing that you want to be careful of, I can show you a little bit more. So if you go into the edit right here, then you can change, you can adjust these. And you never want to have this be more than perpendicular. Sorry. You never want to have it be more than perpendicular. And so um, that's a little bit more. Otherwise, it will create, like if this one was more than perpendicular, in fact, it is a little bit, then it would create a W almost. And same with over here. We don't really want that to be there. And so we're just going to take this. I usually like to have this come a little bit further in, because if you look at a t-shirt pattern, like an actual sewing pattern, then this will be, it'll look like a J almost. And there we go. Now we have our first part. So I'm going to provide some shortcuts that you'll need for this. Control D is copy with symmetric sewing. So Control D is going to basically just duplicate it with symmetric sewing. And that will come in a little bit. But now we have two halves, and it just brings it nicely straight across on our mannequin. And then we want to Control C because we can't Control D after it's already symmetric. And then Control V. So copy and paste that. And I like to work with my fronts on the actual mannequin and then the backs just off to the side. I find that's easier for me, and you can do it however you'd like. So then we're going to match this up and then bring it right on back here. And this is where, see, usually it'll come intersect with that, with the bottom, but it's not this time, so it's nice. And then to flip horizontally, because this is the wrong side of the fabric, this is the inside, we want it to be this side facing out, you're going to Control G, and that just flips it horizontally. And once we have that, then on a t-shirt, what you'll notice is the back comes up higher. So we need to make that happen over here on ours. And this is where the symmetric editing comes in. It's really, really awesome, makes it super easy. So with our edit tool, then we're going, which is this one. So this is the selecting tool, and this is the edit pattern. You're gonna select the neckline points and just move those up to where it creates something that looks like that, to where it comes straight right here and then just curves up around the edge, and it will do it on both sides. Super awesome. And that works on any of them, on any of the points. It mirrors it. That's really awesome, but it doesn't affect this side. All right, so now we are ready to sew this t-shirt pieces together. So you're sewing, this is a segment sewing, so if we're going to sew a whole line together, then we would use the segment sewing. And I will show you how that works. And the way that I have it set up, I just have to basically, with the symmetric sewing, which is another feature of the mirroring, then I just have to have it like this, which makes it really, really nice. So as you can see over in the 3D window, if we do that, then it shows up where they're going to be. And if you're familiar with the sewing world, then you know what this is. This is a notch, and we want to make sure that the notches are on the same side. So we wouldn't want to sew this and then the notch down here. And you can verify which pieces you're sewing together in the 3D window. The way that I set it up, then it's just insides sew to insides, outsides sew to outsides. But because we have that mirroring feature, then we only basically need to sew the insides, which makes it really, really nice. So we're going to sew this and this, and the middle pieces together, making sure that those are together, and there. Okay, now we're going to check. And I messed up right here. I did that intentionally, but to show you guys what it looks like. So this, if you see this where it crosses in the middle, then that means that we messed up, and you do not want that. And I'll show you how to fix that. So we're just gonna go around, check that all of our lines are together. Yep, good in the back. So we just need to fix this up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our edit sewing, or you can push B, but edit sewing right here. and you're going to click on the one that you want to change. And we're just going to right click and reverse sewing. See, now it fixes. And you could do that on either one. I just picked this one because it was closer. But yeah, you could do it on either side, and that's going to also change because we have that cool mirroring feature. It's going to change both of them. So it makes it super nice. All right, and then we're just going to push spacebar, which will sim, or you can click this button over here. All right, so now we have the first portion of our shirt done. Uh, I am going to just make it a little bit more in because I kind of, the shoulder is a little bit far, so, but that's fine. And we're good there. Now, one thing that I do love to do when I'm simming is I drag select. So I have to make sure that I'm selected on this one. And then you drag select all the pieces. And for Second Life, to make it more neat and clean, you want to come down at in your property editor. Down at the very bottom, there's this remesh option. And you want to select that. Oh, let me show you what it does. Okay, so we're going to switch to a mesh, like a wireframe. So do you see how this is kind of like, I don't know, clunky? It's not neat, and it can cause some issues when you're uh, baking and stuff. It can make it look not very good. So the remesh will make it all neat. There we go. See, so now it's super neat and clean, and it will bake a lot better when we're doing, and easier for designers to line up or you to line up, depending on if you're going to sell full perm or if you just want to create for yourself. All right, now that we have that done, now we're going to switch back over to this. You don't really want to use this one. That'll just complicate things when you're exporting. So you want to use this one that has the wrong side and then the right side. So the blue is the right side and the white is the wrong side. So we have that. And then we want to freeze this. So if once we get it where we kind of want it to be, then we want to freeze it. So we're going to Control K, or over here. Maybe we have to do it over here. Okay, Control K. Okay, there we go. Now it froze it. So even if it's simmed, then it won't move. And I like to do this especially when I'm adding sleeves, because then it will keep mainly the arm where it needs to be and also the neckline. It doesn't really do too much down here, but the neckline and the arm hole piece, it'll keep that where it's supposed to be. All right, and now to do the sleeves. The sleeves are the bane of my existence. They are not the funnest thing in the world. They can be pretty easy once you get to know the shape of them, but the shape, it's just a weird shape. Like you would think that it would just be a rectangle. It's not. It's kind of a weird shape, but so we're first going to make the lines, and this is a short sleeve, so we're not going to go all the way down. So this is a half a sleeve. I think I made it a little bit too short. So 82, yeah, I did. Okay, so here's our sleeve right here. So we want it to be similar to this, so I'd probably do like 104 for this, and it's 82. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to go in our edit mode and do this, and then just drag it till about there. That's fine. If it's a little bit more, then it doesn't matter too much. Um, in fact, if you want to do like a puff sleeve, then you would make this a lot longer. But for this time, we're just doing a simple t-shirt, and fabric pieces aren't going to line up all the time, like as far as being the correct length. And a little bit like this is not going to do a whole bunch. So now we're going to do this and we're going to get it placed. So this is half of the sleeve. So I usually like to bring it like that, and then it's going to lay flat. So this is the point of the top of the shoulder. So that's right here. So we're going to move it. Right down here. And that's about right. Okay, so that's about where I want the sleeve to be down here as well. So if I wanted it to be a bit longer, then I would just grab this and drag it down, or shorter, I would do the opposite. I would just bring it in, but that's about right. Now sleeves, they have a curve to them. So we're going to come up here, and I think we're going to find that we're going to need to move this a bit up, but we're going to see. So the curve goes a little bit like that, and then we have to edit this one because down here it's not up. It's kind of like a backwards on what this is. I don't know if that makes sense, but it needs to be taller here than it is here. And it goes in a curve, not a straight line, but that's about what you want it to be, like a little hill. And we're probably going to need to move this up some, because I don't want it to be that drastic. Yeah, so just about like that, just a subtle little curve like that. And then we're going to unfold this. So when we get this the right shape, now this is important because we can't unfold with symmetry in order to do what we need to do with the sleeves, because we want to have both sleeves edit the same. So you want to make sure that you don't need to do anything else over here. This length is not going to be a big deal, a huge deal anyway, but you want to make sure that you have everything done over here before you do this. And you want to be in your edit, or yeah, Z. You can do edit pattern or push the Z key. You want to right click this so that this side is open, or it's selected, sorry, and then unfold. So there is this unfold with symmetric editing with sewing. We don't want to do this for a sleeve. You want to just unfold it because we want the other sleeve to be symmetric. All right. And now see how it just kind of unfolded nicely across the arm right there. And now it's time to sew. So this is the outside one, this right here. And this right here is where we're going to want to sew it. You can double check this by looking in your 3D window. It's going to light up light blue. And you can go, okay, so this one needs to be sewn to right here. You can sew it in this view, but I find it to be easier to sew it in this view, whichever one is best for you. So, and up here is the shoulder, so it's not down here. So I put my notches up at the shoulder, and you can see where the notch is in the 3D window. See, so it's up at the shoulder right here. And then you want to make sure that the other notch is up at the shoulder too. So up right here. And that's just, it's going to look a little bit funny, but as long as it's going in the right direction, then that's totally fine. And then we want to do the same thing. So this is an outside piece, and so this is the other outside piece. So we want to sew this to this outside right here, because that's in the back. See? And I don't sew the two sides together. So do you see how there's those lines and they're lining up good? I don't sew the sides together yet. I sim this first, but before we do that, then we want to do the remesh because it's going to make it a lot neater and nicer when it sims. All right, so now we're going to spacebar. Good. All right. So, yep, there we go. So there's the first part of our sleeve. And then we are going to segment sew again. And now we want to sew the two ends together. So we're going to sew right there and right there, and then sim. There we go. Now we have a sleeve. And you can mess with this any way you want. Uh, since this is just a tutorial, then I'm not going to mess with it a ton. But usually I would fine tune it a bit more. I'd probably move these in a little bit more. That would make that come together a little bit better so that it's not hanging down like that. It would bring this up more if you brought, well, let's do it. Why not? So we're going to take this, and this is 102. We're probably going to bring it to 90, so we're going to change the length, and you want to make it to where the arrow is on the outside. So same over here, it's going to be on the outside. So we're going to change it to 90, and that's going to show us about where it's going to be, and then hit OK, and then do the same over here. So we're going to change length, and then see how it's pointing inwards? We don't want that, so we want to switch it from start to end, and see how it flipped back. Or if you want to do it both, then you can do it both, and it'll just bring it in. But we aren't going to do that. We're going to do end, and we're going to change this, oops, to 90 to match this side, and then OK. And if you see, then it cut it right there, and now we're going to sim it. There we go. See how it just kind of cleaned it up a little bit? There we go. Okay, so now that we got that sleeve done, now we can take this and we want to control D. So we're creating a copy with the symmetric sewing. And I'm just going to drag it over here to this side. I'm going to bring them together in a little bit, but that brings it over here. And we don't have to redo the sewing or anything. We just have to bring it a little bit closer because I brought it kind of far. And then just make sure it's not interjecting the body or any other clothing pieces, and then sim. There we go. All right, and this armhole is a little bit far down, so usually I don't do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to unfreeze these, and there we go. Now it just brought it up a little bit. Usually when you're putting sleeves on and you have like any kind of detail and it's not just flat, then it will change the whole look of all of this. And I usually don't like to do that, but with this one, then it just kind of brought it up to a more natural look. So that worked out well. Uh-oh. It's a little bit, having a little spaz right there. There we go. Okay, now I want to freeze this again. And probably even the t-shirt. Yeah, let's move these over. And that over just a little bit more. Here we go. So I like this t-shirt, how it is. It looks okay. So we're going to merge these pieces because we don't, when you're texturing, you don't want to have to do two separate things. You want it to be one whole face and one whole face here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, your edit tool up here, and you're going to click on the center line on either side. It doesn't matter which side you do. And you're going to right click on it once it's selected, so just that is selected, and you're going to merge. So it's going to merge those two pieces and create it into one fabric piece. There we go. See, no more line. And we're going to do the same with the back. So right now there's a line showing that that's two different fabric pieces. And we're going to right click and merge. There we go. And then after you do that, then I always like to sim. just to make sure that everything is good. And then double check that your remeshing did not go away. So nope, the remeshing looks good. Looks nice and clean. Okay. Now that we have got the, we probably should have done the pants first, but that's okay. Now we can do the pants. And with those, then what I like to do is I like to take the whole shirt. Well, let's probably move this in a bit. There we go. So I like to take the whole shirt fabric pieces. Now, moving them in here is going to do nothing to them on the 3D window. It's just going to keep the place in here. So we're going to move them off to the side. Otherwise, it'll start to snap to these different points when we're trying to make the pants, and that's not a good time. All right, so now let's make these pants. Now, usually I should have made the pants first instead of the shirt because the shirt goes on top of the pants, but it's going to be okay for this, I think. If not, then we can just move this out, unfreeze it, and then just move it out because this is where I think it's going to cause a problem. So what we want to do first is I like to create a little waistband. Now this waistband will be deleted. It's just going to be the basically placeholder for the pants. So we're just going to take that right over here. I need to make it longer. So this makes it where you can make the whole piece longer doing your transform tool. And then just kind of make it, yeah, that's about right. And then I want it to be, yeah, we'll probably edit the t-shirt before this is over. So, and the bottom of this is where the pants are going to sit. So that's about right. One thing that I do want to do, because the pants, again, just like the shirt, we're going to be sewing them, we're going to be creating them in half. So in order to sew that, then we want to right click on this. So just left click first, and then so it's selected. Otherwise, if you right click on the whole thing, then sometimes it'll select the whole thing, and you don't want that. And we want to split this up and uniform split. So I want it to split in half. Just like that. And then you can, if you're doing something else, then you can move those up and it's going to create different points, but we just want two. So there's two equal halves before I copy this. And with this waistband, we do not want to Control D. So we're going to, if you're doing a front to back, then you don't want to Control D. If you're doing side to side, then that's when you want to Control D. So we're going to Control C and Control V and just move it off to the side like that. And then do the same thing that we did with the shirt. So move that, that back here, and then Control G to flip horizontally, just like that. And now we want to sew these pieces together. So we're going to go like this and sew right here and here and here and here. So outsides, if you do it this way, then outsides get sewn together and insides get sewn together. And it just makes it nice and neat like that. And I do think that we need to move this up. So I'm probably going to just push. So, well, let's do that first. So I'm going to Control K these. And then when I sim it, then it's going to look funny. But don't worry. Control K. So we're going to do that. There we go. Because it's sewn together, then it's going to look a little bit funny. So I'm just going to do this for right now. We're just going to pull this all the way up. And then after we're done doing the pants, then we'll just pull it back down. Okay. Now we're going to Control K that again so that it stays there. Like I said, we'll be adjusting that. And then Control K. Now we're going to sim. There we go. So now it created a nice waistband. So you can't think of this as being the starting of the pants unless you want to have like an actual waistband on your pants. Where you want to look and place this is where you want the bottom of the pants to be. So right here is going to be the bottom of my pants. And this is not, or the top of the pants, sorry. The bottom of the waistband piece is going to be the top of the pants. So it is going to look really, really high up here, but don't worry. All right, so there we go. And I try and make this as straight as possible, just depending on the way that you want your pants to look. And then we're going to freeze that. Okay, and then once we're done with the pants and we have frozen those, then we will delete these. All right, so now what we can do is start on the pants. And we want to make it, so this kind of wrapped pretty nicely. So we want to kind of make that be about the size that we do. So right now we're on this one. We want to switch to polygon or push H so that we can do dynamic editing and stuff. Okay, so it's going to snap to the points, which is why we wanted to move these over here, because otherwise it'd be snapping to these different points while we're trying to make the pants, and that's not what we want. So we're going to probably come out just a little bit, like that. And then these are not full length pants. They're about 3/4. So up like that, and then come up like that. And you don't, down here, you don't want to go all the way to the end because you want to come up to the end right here. And don't go all the way up right here. So you want to come down just about there. And then come up to where it snaps to this one. There we go. And there. We might want to move this in a little bit, but we'll see. Because on our little model here, it does go a little bit tighter right here, so we might move it in, but we shall see. So now we want to grab this and bring it up like that. So that's about where I wanted it. For normal pants, then it would probably come all the way down, but because these look like they're a little bit high water, just judging by the look of it, it's a little bit high water. So we're gonna do a little bit high water. And again, we want to remesh. This one I'm not so worried about, but definitely these pants we'll want to remesh. And if you do it on the first one, then it's going to be a lot better. That way you're not having to remesh the whole thing. So with that, we will want to Control D because we're over here. We're creating the other half of the front. And I usually like to line these up a bit better. That was a little bit sloppy. There we go. Okay. So now we have that. And Control C, Control E, and just bring them right over here. There we go. And I'm going to move the waistband pieces up a little bit, just so it's going to be easier to sew. And with jeans, our pants in general, then on the back, then it's going to be a little bit longer in the bottom region because you have the butt that you have to go over. So what we're going to do is we're just probably going to move it down 1 square. So just 1 square. You want to make sure that you're not snapping to the side and you're snapping to the original point. So bring it down 1. There we go. And let's see. Now, oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Oops. There we go. We need to move this in the back. So it needs to come all the way over here. And then Control G to flip horizontally. And now we sew. So just like before, then we just need to basically see this much. So we're going to sew the inside pant leg to the inside pant leg. And then we got to sew these together and these together. And then outside to outside. And that, so basically we're just making this right here. And now, if we were to just sim it right now without sewing to the waistband, then the pants would fall to the floor. So that's why we made the waistband, so that it keeps them up. So we're going to sew, this is inside, 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 inside to inside. There we go. So just check all your sewing, make sure that there's no crossing, and it looks like we're good. So then now we're just going to sim. Oh, that worked out perfectly, actually. If you wanted it to be a little bit baggier, then you would just make up here this bit be wider. But I actually like the look of these. It's loose in the knee, in the back, so there's a little bit natural right there. It's not too scrunched in the middle, which is good. Yeah, I actually really like the look of these. Okay. And depending on the style that you want to do, you would either make it baggier or not. That's completely up to you. I personally like the look of this. So what we're going to do is just do a remesh check. I always do these like 6, 7 times while I'm making it, because sometimes when you are editing them or you're like moving it or between sims, then the remeshing will go away. And so I just like to double check multiple times that the remeshing is still there. And I'll do that once more before I export it for Blender. So now we have the starting of these jeans. And on here, then there's a little bit of a roll-up detail. So we're going to just create that look. And there's a few different ways to create it. What I'm probably going to do is just doing a one piece and then sewing the bottom of it to the bottom of this and then sewing it together. So it'll just look like a piece is coming up, and that should do it. All right, but we'll first want to freeze these. Okay, freeze, Control K. And we're gonna come over here. You could push H or S, sorry, because we're doing rectangle. Or you could just come up here and instead of clicking it, you want to hold click, and then you can let go on whatever one you want. Okay, so we want this to become a little bit out, not too much, but I want the roll to be about that big. And then we want to move it into place. So with this, then instead of sewing the top to that, it's going to be sewing the bottom. So we want it to come up. There we go. Good. So we're going to sew the bottom of this to the bottom of the pants. That way it creates a thing that goes up. And then we will sew the tops together so that it stays up. You can create an actual rolled one by doing it twice as long and then sewing the top to it, sewing the bottom to it, and then sewing the top to it as well so that it comes down and it'll create like an actual rolled. But that's a little bit bulky, so with this one then we're just going to sew it like that. And I would probably do that if these pants were a bit baggier. I would do the actual rolled one, but with them not being baggy or super baggy, and like with it being kind of close, then I'm just going to do the one. All right, so now we are going to Control C, Control V, so copy and paste. And then that's going to bring it over here. We're going to want to bring that over more. Probably bring both of them over a bit more. There we go. And then we are going to Control C, Control V, and for the back. So that's just going to come right here. And then again, you'll want to Control G to flip horizontally. And just to make sure that I have the right one. Okay, so that one goes to that one. Good. So you just want to check, because sometimes when you flip horizontally, then it'll flip the whole piece. So they'd be on opposite sides, but this time it didn't. All right, so now we are going to sew these on. So let's get our sewing. And that side to that side, and that side to that side. And we're gonna have to sew all of them. And then again, insides get sewn together. So when I say insides, then I mean these two pieces, and then outsides is these two pieces. That. And you can tell which one needs to be sewn because these are the insides of the pants. So that's how I knew it was this one and this one. And then the outside ones get sewn. See, now just check your sewing. Yep, looks good. And sim. Ta-da! Perfect, that worked perfectly. All right, now we have a little turned up hem on those. And one thing that we did forget to do, we did forget to remesh these. So let's just come over here and click the remesh. All right, good. And like I said, sometimes when you do that, okay. Yep, everything has stayed. Sweet. All right, now I feel good about this, minus the shirt bit, but we'll fix that. So now what I want to do is I want to freeze these. Oh, come on. So Control K freezes and unfreezes. And I want to merge these pieces. So we're going to go into our edit tool and first click, so select on that middle piece, and it's going to select both of them. So you want to merge. If we didn't have the symmetrics editing on, then we would just have to select both pieces, like both lines, but because we have the symmetric editing on, then we don't have to do that. So we want to merge that. And then when I do a merge, then see how it kind of messes it up a little bit? I like to then unfreeze it. So we're going to unfreeze both of these now, keeping these things frozen, sorry, so that they don't, the pants don't actually move really anywhere. So then we're going to Control K and sim. There we go. It looks good. All right, now we're just going to Control K again. So we have one piece. And now what we can do is we can delete these. So you can just drag select and then push the delete key, or you can right click and delete. There we go. So now we have the pants done. And now let's fix the shirt. So we're gonna come over here, drag select the shirt, Control K to unfreeze, and then sim. And now we can just kind of pull this down. I am probably going to make this shirt be a little bit wider because I don't like that. So just to make sure that all the pieces are there. So we're just gonna make it be a bit bigger. Oh, we probably should have frozen these before doing that. Okay, so we're gonna just quickly freeze the sleeves because I don't want the shirt to actually move. I just want it to be a little bit baggier, or a little bit bigger rather. All right, the back looks good. Minus right there. Probably going to move these in a little bit. This is when you get to fine tune them, and I really enjoy this bit. I just kind of don't want that to be so prominent, you know? And what I could have done, in fact, yeah, let's Control Z to all of those before we had made the shirt bigger. And we're gonna do a collar. Um, okay, there we go. So let's just sim. All right, so let's just quickly do a collar on this. This will prevent, because I do really like this neckline how it is. So it's just going to prevent it from moving. Or, well, we really just need to, let's do some fine editing. Instead of changing all of it, then we're just going to adjust down here. So these you're going to pull out a bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the back pieces. Now it's not like super crucial that you get these to be the exact same. It's just preference. And then these, I'm going to want to select them both because I do want it to be the same length. So we're going to just bring that down, probably about that. Yeah, that's going to, well, probably maybe a little bit longer. There we go. And again, we're going to freeze the sleeves because I don't want those moving. So I like where those are at. And then sim. And it's gonna kind of wig out a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Now, it kind of did mess with the back a little bit, but that's fine. Let's see. So that's a good length on the t-shirt. We got the pants ready. All right, now this part is going to be creating the different faces. So when you're texturing in SL, you know how there's different faces. Well, right now, uh, these are all one face. So what I like to do, let's quickly freeze this. The way that I know that an outfit is complete is when the whole thing is frozen. Because once I get something where I want it to be, then I freeze it. And once everything is frozen, then that means that pretty much I like where the outfit is. So we have this whole thing done. And I might, like if I see somewhere that I want to do a little fine tuning, then I'll go and I'll unfreeze and I'll fix it. But for the most part, it looks really good to me. And this is when we go and we create the different faces. Sometimes you'll want to do this sooner, and other times you'll do it at the end. With this one, then we're going to do it at the end. Excuse me. So we're going to grab the sleeves, because I usually do the sleeves and then the main shirt, and we're going to assign. And so that assigned it to fabric 2, so we're just going to name it sleeve, oops, sleeves. And then this one, we're going to assign, and shirt main. Now if I do a collar, then I'll do another one for the collar, but this one does not have a collar. And then I'm just going to grab the bottom of these because we'll leave these on the face one, and we'll do, oops, pant cuffs. And I want to keep these lined up. And then, so to check which fabric is which, you can click on the different things and it'll highlight them. So there's the sleeves, the shirt main, and pant cuffs. See how it's highlighted in orange, and it'll also highlight over here. And then the fabric one is just the pants. So I'm just going to do pants main. All right. So now in Second Life, then each of these will be different faces. And now we can move on to the UV creating. So I do all my UVs in Marvelous Designer. Makes it a lot easier. And what you're going to do is you're going to switch from simulation over to UV editor. And it should put it, yeah, it does put it pretty much exactly how we have it in the simulation. There are times when sometimes they will be overlapping, but it pretty much ends up like this almost every time. So we're just going to want to move these. I like to kind of center them like that. And because we're not having we're not having the whole outfit on the same map, then I'll show you what we're going to do. I just need to move this over. So try and get them kind of as much as possible. Oops, that one went up. I try and keep them as level as I can. In this one, it is a bit harder to do, but not completely impossible. There we go. And I'm super picky about my AO maps, and so, and it shows when you are texturing. The more picky you are about your UV and AO maps, the easier it is going to be to texture. So we're just going to move this over a little bit. Oops. And depending on how much you want the AO maps to go past here, then you'll want to separate these a bit more. I do 2, so this is enough space for mine. All right, now we're going to do this one. So the actual map is within this first square. So the one that's the green and the red. All these other ones aren't actually in the map. So I usually like to do one at a time, and we bring it pretty close to here, and you want to fill up the whole thing. So because this is the whole t-shirt, then we'll want to fill up the whole thing. Now if I was doing like layered stuff, then each layer would be its own AO map, just to keep things easier. And so the bigger that these are, the more detail you'll be able to get when you're texturing. And so we want to fill it up as much as it can. So that's as big as it can go on both sides. So there is going to be space, but that's okay. And then I like to just kind of center it. There we go. And that's what our AO map is going to look like as well. But this is just the UV map starting. And so we're going to do the same thing, only I like to go down. I like to get them in their own boxes, and then we'll place this one on top. So we have it about there. Oh, that's a little bit close for comfort. So I like to keep them a little bit not clear to the edge. Yeah, so it's just a little bit. That's a little bit close right there. I'm just gonna make it go down a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so I like the way that that is. And then we're just going to bring it on top and just kind of do the same thing, making sure that it's not over the edge on any of the pieces, but that it's pretty centered in the middle. There we go. So now we have UV maps. So now we're going to go back to simulation and let's just save the project right now. I do recommend doing this multiple times. We're going to go in here. We're going to name this and then lesson. Okay, so we're going to do T-shirt and pants. Usually when I do these projects, if I'm going to actually make them for my store in Second Life, then what I'll do is I will I'll name whatever the thing is, the name of the outfit, and then save. All right, so now we got that. And now we are going to, we need to select just the t-shirt, and then we're going to export OBJ selected. You want to make sure you do selected, otherwise it's going to get everything, including the avatar. So we want to OBJ selected, and we want to go into our thing, and we're going to name it t-shirt. Okay, this bit, you have to pay attention to this. Or when you're saving it, if you have anything selected that's incorrect, then it can mess up your stuff. So we want the single object. We want it to weld, which means that it's going to basically join the seam lines. We want it to be thin. If you do thick, then it's going to put another face on the inside, and we don't want that for when we're doing our AO maps. You want the unified UV coordinates so that it takes the UV coordinates that we made with us, with the object. You want it to be meters. Sometimes it'll default to millimeters, but you want to make sure that it's checked to meters. And then you do not want to have any of these inverted. And then, yeah, and then click OK. And once you have that set up, then it should keep it selected that way. Then we want to do the same thing for the pants. So we want to export OBJ selected, and we're going to do pants. Save. See, so it just keeps them, it keeps it, you always want to check, but it does tend to keep it selected how you did the last one. All right. And now what we want to do is open up Blender. So I work on Blender 2.79. Let's just go into Blender right here. And I will open up this Pro ToddleeDoo. Okay, there we go. And I just like to hide all of these. It's good to read them when you first get the kit, but I like to just minimize those because I've already read it all. And then you want to import wavefront OBJ, and you want to make sure that you're selected on a new layer. So I like to just go over here, and this is where all the body and the rig helpers are and everything. So right here, and then import OBJ, and we want to find where our thing is, YouTube series lesson 1. So I like to go with what's under first. So the pants are under the shirt, so we're going to upload the pants first. You can do it however you want. And then import. Okay, so now we have the pants. Now we want to go to a new layer. So I usually do the one that's next to it. And import the shirt. So t-shirt. Okay, now we can grab them both and then just grab the body just to make sure that it all fits. If you did it right, then it should just come right onto it just like it was inside of Marvelous Designer. Okay, that looks good. So we're going to just one on the keypad. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the AO maps. I usually like to do the AO maps and saving the UV maps prior to rigging. But we're just going to select both of those. And if you want, I guess we'll go over that in a little bit. So we're going to select one of the things. You can tell by which thing is selected by if it's orange. And you want to make sure that you have Avastar already installed and everything on your Blender prior to starting this. So you get that one, and then you want to go into your modifier, and you want to add a modifier, and you want to do subdivision surface, and change this view to 2. That's just, when you have a lot of folds and stuff, then you'll be able to see what it does a lot better. It just basically makes it all smooth. And then you want to do the same thing for the pants. I think with the pants, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So it just makes it really smooth. And just to make sure, we're going to wireframe. Okay, yeah, that's all good. Solid. And once you have that done, we're going to do one again, then you'll want to go into edit mode, but you want to just be selected on one object. So you go to edit mode and see how it pulls up the UV map that we made. You want to click on UVs and then export UV layout and find your folder and just name it. This is the pants, so I'll usually do the name of the thing and then I'll do pants UV map and then export. And the way that we're going to set this up, we kind of want to select that. The way that we want to set this up is, because we don't have to change anything really, you just click on new, and this is going to create the AO map base. So now we want to do pants AO map, and it's going to make it big and usually black. There we go. And then, so we're set up with the pants. Now we just got to do the shirt. So go over into object mode and then right click on the shirt, go into edit mode, and we're going to do the same thing. So here's the shirt UV. We want to save the shirt UV map, and shirt UV, and then new, and we want to just do the shirt AO map. And then okay, and it does the same thing. So sometimes it won't do that, and that's fine. Usually that's when I have to go, like when I'm having to go in and deselect and select things. So if I want to have, um, like if I have two AO maps for the shirt, then we would have to go and do that. But with this one, then it's super easy and simple, and we only have one AO map. So now we're going to go into object mode, and we need to select both of these. So make sure that both of them are selected. You could just do A, so it selects both, or you can shift and click both of them. And once we want them to still have this in your world, you want to go to ambient occlusion, select that, environment lighting, go into your gather and do samples 25. So change that to 25. And you should be good with this. And then in the camera up here, then you're going to change the full render to ambient occlusion, and you're going to select normalized. And this bit right here is a complete personal preference. I like to set the margin is how far out on the AO map the uh, AO bit goes. So how far do you want the thing to go outside of the actual texturing of the mesh? I like to put it at 2, so it's going to go out 2 pixels from the actual AO map. I just find that this is easier to texture, it's easier to line up, but it's completely up to you. You can mess with it and find out which one you like better, and then you hit enter. So it saves that. And now for the fun part, we're going to bake it. And this sometimes doesn't take very long. If you have a lot of pieces, then it'll take quite a bit longer, but with just a little bit, then it should go pretty fast. And it's going to go a little bit slower because I am recording. But we just gotta wait for it, and you can see how it's gonna turn out in here. So it looks good so far. And here's the pants. And the progress bar is right up here. And I'll show you how to make a less shadows. So this is gonna keep the shadows on the pants from the shirt, and I'll show you how to make it to where those aren't there on a different one. In my packs, then I have that as less and more shadows. So this would be a more shadows because it does have the shadows from the shirt. And then the less shadows would not have the shadows from the shirt. And the main thing is, it shouldn't, but if these two touch, then we might, okay, so they don't. So now it's done. They don't touch at all, which is good. Let's see, down here is good. And the real test, you can come down here and switch to textured, and it will show the texture on it. I personally like to keep it at solid and then push N in your 3D map, in your 3D window. And come over here into shading and do textured solid. So that lets you see the shadows as well without it being like blaringly white, or blindingly white rather. But it looks good. I don't see anything that needs fixed, so we're gonna push 1. And now we can save these, and I can show you how to rebake with making it to where there's not the shadows right here for the shirt. And so we're gonna go like this and save as image. And we want to go into there, and it's going to automatically name it what we named it in Blender. So it makes it really easy. And here's the shirt AO map. We're going to do the same thing, save as image. And it's going to bring us back to the same folder and save. Okay. Now, back to the pants. So we're going to want to hide the shirt and just select the pants. We're going to do A and then select because sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so now that we don't have the pants, the shirt on the pants, now we can bake it again, and it won't have the thing. But we want to make sure that we save the first one because it's going to override it unless we do new. If you do new, then it won't. But I just choose to not clutter this thing up if I don't have to. So I just make sure that I save it and then bake again. And this one should go quite a bit faster because it's not trying to bake two. It's just doing one. And see, there's no more shadows on the, oops, on the top. And it'll update once it's all finished. Then this will change. And then you'll be able to really see what it looks like. Ta-da! Now we have one without the shirt on it. So what I would do here is I would image and save as image, and don't just click save as image, otherwise you'll override the first one. I come up here and I do less shadows. Now this is not something that's required. It's just something that I like to do because it gives a little bit more options. But it's not something that you have to do. Or you can not bake it at all with the top in there and just have it be just like this. It's completely up to you. And now we are going to go into the rigging portion of it. So we're going to grab the shirt again, and we're going to grab the pro suit. And we're going to remove that because then it's going to show us what that is. So we're good here. This bit doesn't really matter. Like if it comes in just a little bit, then it's not too bad. But we do want to remove, so we want to go in here and we want to just click the X. The only reason why we have the subdivision surface on is because it makes the AO maps a lot nicer. Otherwise it'll look very, very pixelated. And so we want to just come in here and remove that and also remove it on the shirt. There we go. And yeah, it works. And ToddleeDoo has rig helpers in it, and it makes it by far the easiest to create for. And this is a pro suit rigging. So there's the pro suit, which is basically like shirt, pants, or anything that's going to be rompers, anything that has this kind of shape to it. The skinny dress and the flared dress. And then there's different versions of the skinny and flared dress. But we're just going to use the pro suit this time. So we want to make sure that we're in the Avastar, and again you want to have your Avastar already installed and everything in your Blender before doing this. So we're gonna do that, and I do A and then it brings it up. So we want to copy the weights from the Pro Suit and put them on the mesh that we made, because right now our mesh is not rigged. And so we want to strategy meshes, and then the weight sources, we want to select the Pro Suit, and then we want to bind to armature. And this will just take a second. All right, now it's rigged. So, and the way to test that is we grab this, grab the body, grab our two things, and then, oops, just select till you get the actual posing thing, and then go to, instead of object mode, switch to pose mode, And then I like to test on here and switch to this thing, likes to rotate it. Good. And I just like to mess with it a bunch. Just go and test each of the bones, or testing the rigs. And then that, do the same thing with the leg. So that's good. That's good. And I always, whenever I make one move, then I always Control Z so it brings it back to the T pose. Just because it makes it a lot easier when you have to do different editing. So let me test that. Yep. Okay, there we go. So this looks good. Now what we're going to do is just have these two again. And now we have to solidify. So now it's going to show TD armature, which means that's the rig. And we want to do that and then do that so that we don't end up messing with anything in there because we don't want to. So you're going to right click the shirt and solidify. Depending on, so see how it makes it really thick? We don't want it that thick. Depending on the type of material, I'll usually change the thickness to that. So with a t-shirt, then I would do 0.0005. So it gives it a little bit of thickness, but it's not like overwhelmingly. So it's just about the thickness of cotton. And then I kind of want to do the same thing to the pants. Now sometimes I won't do this, like I won't do the solidify if it's something that you won't see the underside of. Um, with the pants, then I wouldn't be doing it, except for there is this underside of the cuff. So we want that to be solidified. So it's just easier to solidify and then do the same thing with jeans. Then I would probably do 0.0006 just to make them a little bit thicker. See? Just a little bit thicker, but not too much. And then yeah, now we are ready to export to for Second Life. So I'm going to export the pants first. So we're going to come over here, File, Export, and we want to do Collada Avastar because it's a rigged item. For hanging displays, imposed displays, and floor clutter, then you would do this one. But for right now, we're going to do this. And last one. And these are the pants. So we're going to do pants TD fitted. All right. And then export Collada Avastar. And this usually doesn't take too long, but because I am recording, then sometimes it does like to take a little bit longer. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this will pop up with all of them. The only time that you would have to worry about it is if it was a really, really high number. But for this, then it's going to be fine. What I found is anything over, so just to show you, this is 2 megabytes. Anything over 13 is, I usually end up crashing when I try and upload it to SL. So I usually like to keep it low, but that's generally not a problem unless you have like something that's got a ton of layers and is super complicated. Otherwise, it's usually about this. Right, now we're going to do the shirt and I'm going to name it shirt TD fitted and do the same thing. Yeah, it does take just a little bit to, there we go. And again, if it's under 20,000 right here, then I generally don't pay any mind to it. But yeah, so now we have that. Now let's make the hanging display. Because who doesn't love a hanging display? So we're gonna grab those. I usually like to get the body in there. I'm not sure why. It's just something that I have always done. And for the hanging display, we just need to bring this down like that. And bring this down like that. Oops. And then just grab the two things. And we want to scale on the y-axis. So down here you can see the y is the green, and that goes forward to backwards. So we're going to S and then Y, and then just bring it in about like that. So it's kind of flat like that. And oh, we forgot to save. Oops. So we're going to export, and this one we want it to be, oh, we want it to flip so that the top is the root prim. The thing that you select last is going to be the root prim in SecondLife. So I usually like to keep it on the top. And we want to default. Now this bit is a little bit different. So we want to apply modifiers and selection only. This is the only time that you'll have to do this is when you're doing a DAE anyway, where you have to select anything else. When it's the rigged version, then you don't have to select any of these. But with the non-rigged version, then you do need to select all of these. Otherwise, it will bring in everything from your Blender file, and we don't want that. So now we're just going to do lesson 1, hanging display. Okay, so now we have the hanging display. So I usually like to save at each of these points. So we're going, I just didn't save at the end of the other one. So we're going to do lesson 1 display. Just because you never know. So now we're going to Control Z until we get back to our T-pose. There we go. And I want to save as lesson 1 TD fitted complete. Okay. So if I like had to step away from doing this or in the middle of a project, then I wouldn't say complete, but because this one is rigged and everything, then I put complete on the end of it, on the end of the Blender file. And yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna be uploading it to SL really fast. So we're gonna build, upload mesh model. I know there's a way to do it locally, but because I've never had any problems with ToddleeDoo, then we're just going to upload it normally. So we want to, my mesh, we have to find it. So we're going to do the shirt. And then we want to name it. So lesson 1, shirt, fit. And then change this to, and these again are up to you. This is how I do it. You can mess with these as much as you want, but the numbers in here, you just want to do 1000, and then down here 100, and then 10 for rigged. You just want to make sure that these go down so that this one is less than this, this one is less than this, this one is less than this. And then after you've named it and you've done that, and if you want to view it without the weight showing, because it is kind of weird looking, then you can just under the preview controls, then you can just deselect the weights and then it'll show you what it will actually upload as. But the weights in here are the weights for the default avatar, and so it's always gonna look super funky. But not to worry. All right, that shows that it's gonna be 1.8 land impact and it's gonna cost 11 lindens to upload. So we just wanna upload that. Okay. And then we want to upload the pants, and it should open it to the same thing. So we want the pants. So I'm going to do the same thing. Lesson 1 pants, TD fit it. And then do the same thing. So 1000. And then again, make sure that it goes down. And once that's good, again, you can deselect that to see how it's actually going to upload. And then these are going to be 2.2 prims, and then upload fee is 11. I haven't, doing it this way, I haven't had an upload fee be larger than 15 lindens, so it's pretty comparable. I just collapse everything really fast. And then we want to upload the hanging display. And this one usually will come up, yeah, so it's going to show up as the rigged. So we don't want it to be the rigged. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into rigging and we're going to uncheck the include skin weights. And it's going to bring it up like this. When we get it in world, then we'll just delete this part and keep this one. So go back into level of detail and then name it. So lesson 1 hanging display. All right. And oops, no, we want it to be 100. Or no, so on the hanging displays, then I just do 10 and then 10. And then calculate. And this one usually will be a lot lower. So it's going to be less than this because it's combining the two, and it's going to be 14 lindens. So when we get it in world, then when we remove this, then it'll be less than 3 prims. It'll be about half that. Okay, so now the shirts I usually attach to the chest, and then the pants I attach to pelvis. So we're just going to detach that, and then around here, and just kind of look at the way that it moves, if you can see any obvious signs of it coming through the body. I'll usually do like very dramatic dances when I'm testing out the rigs, but because I'm not actually planning on selling this or using it in my store, then I'll just have it be like that. But as you can see, it's not coming through anywhere. I don't see anywhere that we need to change anything. So I would consider this to be finished. Let me just quickly make a new folder really fast. Oops. Lesson 1. We have all of that in there. And then, 1 second. So we have all of those. And then now we're going to upload bulk. And this is when we're going to upload all of the UV and AO maps. And I like to switch it to, oops, the large icons just so that I can see what I'm doing. And we want the less shadows, this one, and this one. And because I'm Premium Plus, then it's 0, but let's see. I'm just going to bring those into there and edit. And this is the pants, so we're going to just do the main one instead of the one without the shirt. And then, oops, I don't want to edit that. Okay, we're going to have to just select it in here. Shirt. There we go. And then dropping the hanging display, we're going to delete that. I usually do this prior to putting it in the folder, but it's fine. So we have this, and just make sure that it saves that. And now we can, oops, this shirt AO and pants AO. All right, then we can see, so now it's showing as 2 because it's 2 objects. And sometimes it will be less, but yeah. So now we have it rigged for ToddleeDoo and the hanging display done. So now we just are going to rig, we're going to size it down and rig it to the Bebe Toddler, and then upload it in here. Let me just move SL over. File, I'll go in here. So in my Blender, then I have Bebe Toddler. And it's very important to rig to the one that has the actual feet. So any of these ones that don't have the feet on it, it will rig weird and won't work. So we're gonna go 1, and then again import just like we did on the other one. So we want to do the pants, and then import shirt. Okay, now what you're going to notice is it's way different. So because BB is much smaller, that's okay. So we're going to just scale it without selecting the body because we don't want to scale the body. We just want to have the 2 objects, our outfit selected, and we're just going to scale it down till it comes about there. Probably could go a little bit lower, and so we're going to S and then Y because we want it to out a little bit. And then usually I won't, if it's just coming in a little bit, then I won't do the x-axis, but sometimes you do need to do the x-axis. The pants though, we're gonna S, Y again. Well, just selecting on the pants. And then you can move them. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that should suffice. And then what we want to do is, now BB defaults to the textured solid, so we don't have to do it again, but we want to make sure textured solid is selected. So if it looks like that, then you want to come in here and select the textured solid. And then we want to go into edit mode on just one of them, and open. Go in here and we want to select the pants. We don't want the less shadows because we want to make sure that the shirt matches up with the other one. And then that will just put it on basically. So I don't know if you can tell, but now it's got the texture on it. And it's less so important when you're doing just two. So I probably won't do it with the shirt, but because we want to make sure that the shirt is lined up with the pants on the AO map, then we definitely wanted to do it on the pants. So now we're going to come in here, sculpt mode and tools, grab, make sure that we are mirroring the x-axis so that whatever we do on this side happens on the other side. But we don't want it to be that drastic. And you want to do the grab. And usually you'll want to make sure that you are editing as wide as possible so that you don't get like little bumps here and there, but that it will smooth it out. There we go. I want to come in more. You want to just make sure that you're getting it all. And usually the sizing goes pretty quickly unless you have a bunch of layers or complicated things that you're sizing. But because this is just simple t-shirt and pants, then it's probably going to go pretty quickly. And for the areas that you can create an alpha, I usually don't try and get those too much. Like back here, I'll kind of make it to where it's just a little bit here and here, to where it's with the body, but not, so it's not completely out. Oops, that was a little bit, there we go. But like this bit I wouldn't really worry about because I can make an alpha for that. And then, but where you really want to make sure it's correct is the places that you can't alpha or where it meets the body. So around here, you want to make sure that you're kind of, see I'm super close right here. You want to kind of be a little bit away from the body. And you'll notice when you do the ToddleeDoo version as well, then you aren't right close to the body. It's a little bit away. Okay, we could do a little bit more in here. But that looks good for the pants. And now we can right click on the shirt and then go to sculpt mode and it'll just have the same settings. And the shirts are a little bit harder. I usually end up having a little bit of, it doesn't go completely straight at the bottom because the BB body, it's very exaggerated. Oh, that one actually kind of worked. But it's very exaggerated on the shaping. What I mean by that is like the back curves a lot, or it goes like way in right here before it comes back out. And ToddleeDoo is very linear. And so that's usually where I see the most. I want it to come out a little bit more. But like I said, with the places on the inside of the body, then I'm not too worried. Like right here, I wouldn't fix that because we can do an alpha for it. But on the neckline, it's probably going to need to come up a little bit more. And these down. And then it is quite large in here, so we want to maybe move that in a bit. But you don't want to do so much you don't want to do such dramatic changes that it's going to alter the way that the textures look. So we want to really be broad in the amount of moving and editing. So we want to move this out a little bit because it's not going to sit perfectly. And you want it to have a little bit of space. Otherwise it's going to go into, like the two meshes will go into each other in world. A little bit down like that. And then really around these areas, you want to make sure that it's all set properly. But that looks good to me. It'll really tell whether we did it properly in world. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab that. And then, excuse me, the BB body does not have rig helpers. So we're just going to rig it right to the excuse me, we're going to rig it right to the body. We're going to just grab that. And sometimes you have to do that. Okay, so we have BB body selected on the meshes. There are times where we won't want to copy the weights and we'll just want to rig it. But that will be for a different mesh. So we want to bind it. All right, so now we have those. And the only thing that we will really need to do is, oh, I guess we do need to test the rig. So let's quickly test it. So it looks good there. The main place that I see issues with BB is this one. But it looks actually good. Okay. All right. Okay, looks good. So we're gonna wanna deselect that and add the solidify modifier, and we want to do the same numbers. So we want to do 0.0005 on the shirt. Again, these will change depending on the type of fabric that you're going for. But for these, then I picture these being denim and this being cotton. So I'm going to go with that. So solidify 0.0006. And now we want to save this. So save as in here and BB. All right, and we want Clatta Avastar, and these are the pants. Again, if this is under 20,000, then I don't really pay much mind to it. If it was over 20,000, then I would check to see if it was over 13, but because it's under 20,000, then I'm not going to. All right, there we go. And now let's come back over to SecondLife and just cam over here while I switch my avatar. Because I do load in, like my different avatars don't have any clothes on. So upload mesh model, and we want to do the exact same thing. Pants, BB. And then again, you have to do this with every body that you bring in. Let's see, where's pelvis? Aha, there it is. Okay, mesh model. And now we need to do the shirt. And then you always want to make sure if you don't, so let's say I did 101. Oh, then if there's a problem, then it'll show this button, and you just need to make sure that it's less. So once you have the 3 greens, then upload. And these get added. Touch the chest. Okay. Now we can see how it looks. And it does come through in the places that it was in Blender, but that's totally fine because we can do an alpha for all of those. Yeah, and then we just move that in there. And then edit. And this is the shirt. And then pants. Ta-da! Yeah, it's gonna basically, if you do it properly, then it's going to be exactly how it is in Blender, which is what we want to see. But what we're mainly looking for when we're testing the rigs is if any of these pieces are not aligned or coming through the body at all. But this I wouldn't worry about because again, we can make an alpha for that. If the texture or the mesh is lining up with the AO maps, which this one is pretty good. If I wanted to really be picky, then I would bring this down a little bit, but to me this would be fine. And then yeah, and then we would just create the alpha layer for the bottom. It doesn't look like the top needs an alpha layer, but the bottom definitely does. And we would just have it come down to about there. Yeah, thank you for joining me on this first beginner mesh tutorial, and these will be coming out weekly. All right, thank you.